Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with Trader Summit, and with me today, once again, I have Marcus Fetherston, Director of Operations over at Eightcap Securities. How are you, Marcus?
Fantastic. It's a bit early in the morning here and the weather's pretty terrible, but I'm glad to be here, Blake. It's
well, it's nice to have you here. I know being on the opposite side of the earth from where you are, the nice thing is that you and I can, have a discussion right now, especially about cryptos. And there's not much of a lag time, which is always really nice. No, I want to kind of pick your brain here about the crypto market. And the reason why we wanted to have a discussion today is cryptos have been under pressure recently, and setting the stage for most people just to have a basic understanding of what's been happening as stocks in the US and stocks globally really have been under pressure. There's been a lot of macroeconomic strains in the marketplace. Then you have geopolitics playing a role. A lot of people thought that cryptos might have been a safe haven type of vehicle. And what we're seeing is we're seeing them actually move more with risk assets like stocks globally. And so what is your view from a broker's point of view? What have you seen as far as flows, positioning, and how have people been tackling this from your standpoint?
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting one. I mean, I was around for like the last huge bear phase that happened in 2018 and into 2019. And as much as this is probably more, you'd probably call it a bearish downtrend. Obviously, the whole crypto winter thing might be an exaggeration, and we'll see whether that happens. But it's kind of been a bit different. Unlike last time, whereas the market started to, buckle and downtrend, and people on the derivative side changed to net short, we've constantly seen people going in net long over the last, 2 months since December, which has been really interesting. Obviously, it's been some damage on the trader side with that. But even now, we're still seeing people coming in with, long-term confidence, even as the market keeps going down on the retail side. So it's definitely different to, what I've seen previously. And I think there still is a lot more, optimism long-term for crypto, coming from traders right now.
Well, that is interesting. And one of the things that we've talked a lot about here on Trader Summit as a whole with many guests that I've interviewed is that a lot of institutional money is involved in the crypto markets, but it's not, and this is where I really want to take a closer look with somebody like yourself who sees the back end, if you will, of the market. It's not a one shoe fits all size, or a one size shoe fits all feet. Maybe, one shoe fits all feet. We could put it that way, but you're probably seeing some divergences in different currencies. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I always say during these kind of downtrends. And that's why I think a lot of people that are really into crypto on the technology side, they're not really threatened by this. I know Vitalik, like the founder of Ethereum, for example, sees this as a good thing, because it's during these bear phases that you see the real innovation happen. It's not being aided just by hype and things being pushed up by market sentiment. You'll see the gains actually being real and reflected by value and technologies that get created. So I think that's why people are really optimistic, even though things are going down, because last time, and I was one of these people myself, I thought, crypto's on the downtrend, it's kind of done and that. And then you saw this core community continue on and start working together and built out, all this great DeFi technology during 2019 that people like me that just got out of it because, following the herd, didn't get to really enjoy the initial gains on. And we saw that it's during this time that the real crypto fanatics, the real technologists come into play, and then more gains are going to be established. So it kind of clears out a lot of the hype and a lot of the fake value and allows real value in the market to present itself. So we're definitely seeing this as a divergence on that side. And again, even though everything is kind of in the red, when you start looking at all the charts, not everyone loses in the same way. It's not about how, the price goes down. It's how a lot of these different coins recover. And I think that's what we're seeing in a lot of the altcoins and some of my favorites. When you start comparing them to Bitcoin or comparing them between each other, you see them diverge in how they start to recover and even how far they dipped from the all-time highs. So that's what you have to be looking for right now, I think, as a trader, is, not just look at everything going red and thinking there's no opportunities, but this is where the opportunity is going to present themselves, and you can get in while the market's cheaper. So it's a great opportunity. And I think that's why this divergence in sort of different price action on different coins is now starting to happen. And I think it's a good thing for traders because it's not like everything's just correlated to Bitcoin and that's it. We're really seeing the divergence in true technology and its value present itself.
So, you gave me a couple of names, and I want to take a look at some of the charts that you brought to the table. But can you explain a little bit about the differences in some of these coins that you're talking about and what makes them stand out from the others?
Yeah, well, some of the ones I've selected today, trying to keep it a bit more high market cap, a bit more mainstream. So obviously we have, the all-time classic Bitcoin here. We brought up Solana, Luna, and Avalanche, and all of these are different. I'd call them efficiency blockchains, or actually, apart from Bitcoin, of course, Solana, Avalanche, and Luna are kind of all efficiency blockchains, but I think they compete in different ways. You could just call them Ethereum killers if you wanted to. I don't really like the term. I think that a lot of these different blockchains can be used for different things in trying to make more efficient technologies. So I think we've seen, Luna, which I talked about last time I was on here, being, a great, I think, competitive blockchain in the DeFi space for stablecoin technology. And we've seen that really grow a lot over the last year. We see Avalanche, which I think has been really the ecosystem for a lot of metaverse technology, GameFi, and is really sort of taking the lead there with a lot of dApps being built on top of that in those spaces. And then we see Solana, which is really more on the efficiency side to sort of take on Ethereum. And, I think has been making some good plays as really the big blockchain competitor in the NFT space to Ethereum. So they're all, efficiency chains, if you want to call them that. Some people might disagree with me on that, but essentially that's how I see them. But they all specialize in different things. And that's what's really great about cryptos. And, I think a lot of people I speak to in traditional markets don't want to jump into cryptos because they don't understand it. But when you strip back all the hype and, all the noise in the space, it's really a technology play and an adoption play. And in that, you might look at all of these and see them as efficiency chains, but really they all do different things. One's for more financial technology, one's more for gaming technology, the other's more efficiency technology. And if you look at all those spaces separately and you see how well these adapt into them, you can sort of make plays based on that in the same way you would with maybe stocks in different industries. Sure. And in that, they're all going to diverge differently right now, which is really good. I mean, if you look at the patterns here, you're just looking at them on face value. Yes, you see them rising up towards, December, and then they're all dipping, but it's how they've all sort of gone from their original value that you want to look at. And that's sort of why I think I wanted to bring these up as kind of prime examples of that.
Well, that's a really, really great point that you make. And I think it's going to be important for crypto investors, just in general, having a better understanding of what individual crypto is doing, because they're not all, the same. You can actually even draw the parallel to, in the internet boom, there's companies that are internet, retailers. There are internet, space type of companies and web browsers or search companies. And so there's going to be different facets of the crypto industry that are going to perform better than others, and some at different times than others. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny you mentioned that. I use the tech boom as an example a lot of the time. I mean, if you were to talk about the way I think a lot of traditional sort of investors talk about crypto as a whole, they say crypto's up, crypto's down. I mean, but whilst people talk about tech stocks in a broad way, you wouldn't really talk about correlations all the time between Apple, Netflix, and all of these stocks. Yes, when there's major tech moves, you might, but of course they're all going to run in different ways because they're literally different industries in tech. So tech is like the banner term for like the basket of these stocks, but they're all technically in different forms of tech. And I think people need to realize that with crypto, who are maybe newer to the space. And in that, especially during times like this, overall crypto is down, due to, I guess, mass market sentiment. But individually, how a lot of these coins are going to bounce back from that is going to be very different and not always correlated. And so this is where you can come in and make a lot of good moves because they're a lot cheaper. And we see that in the community as well. And I said this last time I was on, community is a big thing in crypto because I think it's where you can see like the real value. If you go into a Discord or a Reddit channel and all people are doing is talking about making money and there's no talk of underlying technology and stuff, you can kind of understand that if the money goes, if the market downtrends, a lot of those people will just pull out and go where the next sort of quick dollar can be made. But if you go into a lot of these communities and you see people talking about the technology, the projects, they're posting memes, they're having fun, that means a lot in a very sort of, it's a bit arbitrary, of course, and more anecdotal and qualitative research, but I've always found that means something. And I think that's very true in, say, the Luna community or the Terra Luna community itself, and the adaptation of different technologies there. If you go in and you still see people going strong and they're optimistic, it's a good sign that it's going to continue. In fact, a lot of them are almost celebrating the market downtrend because they say, I've been planning on doing another investment into Luna in the next month, and now I can buy 30-40% more because it's down. Because really, at the end of the day, it's a 3-month downtrend. But we know crypto can move fast. We know we've seen this before, but if you're in it for 5 years, a 3-month trend, and a lot of these big technology advocates are, because they see this as something that's not going to play out over 6 months as a quick dollar. It's going to play out over 1, 2, 5, 10 years, especially on the adoption side. I mean, you go into these communities and maybe there's 100,000 people in them. But if you really look at the technology and you see this could have millions of people or tens of millions of people adopt, you're still early in a sense. And you're early over 5 years and you've just got a 40% price correction. You're pretty much getting these on sale in the same way you might look at a stock that you're still bullish on for the long term. And that's where I think a lot of really deep crypto community members are kind of actually excited for this because 1, you can get in cheap. 2, a lot of the quick dollar artists move out of crypto, and then the real technology gets built, and you actually see the value that gets built now is off what you'd say, or what I call real technological value. So I think that's why this is a really exciting time now. And while you can look at the chart and just see red everywhere, it's the best time to find opportunities, actually.
All right, Marcus, you brought mana to our attention, so I want to take a look at that. But before we do, I want to bring you guys a word from our sponsor. Okay, and we're back. So let's take a look at Mana. Now, how do you see this particular crypto, Marcus?
Yeah, so, I mean, I was saying before, in the sea of red on the charts, with all the cryptos that are going on right now, it's a great opportunity where real value is going to present itself now that, things are downtrending, all the quick dollar artists move out. So it's a good time to pick your buys and get in cheap. On the flip side of that, and I come at this from the derivatives perspective, where you can make some good trade moves. It's also a time, I think, to call things that you feel are overhyped during that boom cycle, things that you think, if it's going to have true value reflected, it might now start going down. Once all the quick money's out, once that hype is gone, is the true value really still going to be reflected in the market? And my sort of bearish kind of position is more on Mana. And, it doesn't come from sort of a dark sentiment or a dark place on the metaverse. I'm really pro metaverse, but my thing with the metaverse is kind of, it's something, and I think a lot of people in the space have even said this themselves that are advocates. It's going to take 5 to 10 years to really see what's happening eventuate. But I think with the hype cycle that we saw back in October, November, which you can see on the chart here, we saw a lot of that 5-10 year sort of end goal sentiment priced in very quickly. And I just don't think that's reflected in the market cap of a lot of these. And I think Mana is an example of that as a technology that, when the chips are down, when the quick money's out of the market and things start downtrending, I just don't really see that, sentiment or community like I was talking about, AVAX or Luna has really helping bring the price up here. I mean, to put it in perspective, if you look at the market cap for something like Mana or Decentraland, as the actual app game metaverse is called, I mean, really, it's essentially an online game metaverse experience. Its market cap is, I think, roughly between $5 and $6 billion right now. But when you actually start picking it apart, and I try to look at this kind of like a business or a stock, its concurrent user base or online users at one time is only around 5,000 people. And when you look at that kind of those numbers, something just doesn't really compute to you if you were to look at it in terms of a normal business or a normal stock. Now, I know the crypto world is very different. It's technology driven. People are pricing in future technology, so it can't all be about the now. But when you look at that gap between sort of valuation and actual use case, I don't really see long-term potential in Mana. And I only say that just because I think the true metaverse is going to emerge over years, not in the short term. So if you look at something like this, 2,000 concurrent users, $5 billion market cap. I mean, to put that in perspective, in terms of gaming, I know Blizzard Activision reached that kind of market cap in 2006, 2007, when they had games that had, 5 million, 10 million plus global players. And so you put that in perspective and you're like, this doesn't really have that same core user base. And like I was saying before, when I was talking about Luna, when you look at the community, you want to see people loving the core product. You want to see people loving the underlying technology that supports it. When I think you look through a lot of online discussion about Mana and Decentraland, all discussions are about kind of just making money from it, I think, in a lot of users. And the core product here is a game. It is a metaverse experience. And if the whole premise of it just revolves around more the monetary side of it rather than enjoyment of the underlying product, you kind of see a bit of a disconnect there. In that if the quick money goes, if the market downtrends, how many of these users, and there's not many, by the way, are really going to stick around to really sort of boost that technology and boost the core offering? So look, I mean, I think it's a tough thing in this space. I think especially in like the Web3 community, because I think people view it all as like a package deal and, you're either with it or you're against it. But I think it's important to separate all the components of DeFi and Web3 and sort of give credit where credit's due and call it a spade if it's a spade. And I think, I get into a lot of arguments with people over Decentraland and Mana because, they say, oh, you're anti-metaverse or you must be anti-everything. And it's like, no, I'm pro-metaverse. That's why I'm anti-Mana. That's why I'm anti-this. And I think it's important to have those discussions because, we know that there's a lot of fanatics in the crypto world, a lot of people that follow it religiously. So I get into arguments with these people. I think they think I'm a bit of a neo-Luddite if I don't like one thing. But I think it's important to really be able to pick it apart and say, well, if this was any other investment, if this was a stock, you wouldn't invest in it. So why would I invest in it just because it's a crypto? I don't see the value there. So I think during these periods of time, we're going to see true value like that reflected on the downside as well. Which is good if you can trade derivatives and you can get in on the short side and sort of, put your money where your mouth is as well. A lot of people say, oh, I think this is going nowhere. I think that's going nowhere. It's like, well, great. You can trade that opportunity. And meanwhile, if you think that's a bad metaverse project, now that true value is going to realize you can start looking out there for what you think in 2, 3, 4 years is going to be the good one and hold that one for the long term. So you can make some short-term gains on the downside, but over the long term, this is where you're probably going to start finding those great, bullish kind of cryptos that are going to be in that space. And again, that comes down to this thematic view of cryptos that they're not all the same. Obviously, a blockchain that specializes in gaming or Mana, which is specifically one of those games, or DApps and the token that represents it, they work completely differently. So you can start really splitting them apart and analyzing them in separate channels like you would stocks or really any other, traditional asset basket.
Well, Marcus, I can see why AVAXUSD Securities is really forging the way in crypto trading. And how many products do you guys over at AVAXUSD, how many crypto products do you have available to be traded?
We're pushing close to 400 now. I think it's around 360 right now. And overall, with traditional assets, we offer over 1,000 derivatives products for traders to take advantage of.
Well, for those people that are my age or maybe even slightly older, around the 50 or older age, would really be excited to be involved in Activision in 1970 something when they released, or 1980 something when they released Pitfall. Think about that, folks. So Marcus, hey, listen, I love having these conversations with you. If I want to find out more about AVAXUSD Securities or about what you do, how do I find you?
Well, obviously, you can go to agcap.com to find out about AVAXUSD. Feel free to email me directly if people are interested, or check me out on LinkedIn. I'm not a massive Twitter user. I probably should get on the space, more of a passive participant in Twitter and crypto because there's a lot of noise in it. But yeah, just reach out to me directly. I mean, as much as I love talking cryptos and analyzing the market, I also work on the liquidity side. So I have a lot to discuss with people there too. So yeah, my door's always open to have a chat on anything about this stuff.
Well, thank you, Marcus, for spending your time with us here at the Trader Summit community. We really appreciate it. And guys, if you like this video and you're watching us on YouTube and you want to jump in the conversation, make sure you comment down below. Tell Marcus how you feel about some of your favorite crypto instruments out there. I'm sure he would love to hear it too. So thanks for joining us. Make sure you give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our great content. Marcus, thanks for joining us. I'll look forward to our next conversation.
Can't wait for it. Thanks, Blake.
Hey traders, Blake Morrow here. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also click the bell notifications so you do not miss any of our market-related trading analysis from some of the leading industry experts. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you in the next video.